What started as an imaginary assistant and grew into an alter ego named Sloane is now Sloane, a platform to curate real advice over algorithms, built to help you lead the life you want across entrepreneurship, relationships, navigating realities, and perseverance. The right advice doesn't get you back on track, it leads you to the best path because everyone needs a friend who is just so Sloan. So, Biba, I'm a huge fan of skincare and just understanding where we get to the root of our individual concerns and how everyone's skin is so unique. There's a lot of topics we can cover here, both on skincare as well as the business of beauty. But first, let's take it back to how did you get started? How did you get started in skincare? As an esthetician? How did you start working with some big name celebrities? Where did it all go back to?
Oh, it's a long story. That's always a good question because it's always good to know somebody's origins, right? So I always wanted to be involved in the beauty industry. I really was always fan of spas and salons, and I gave myself facials, and I was a facial client since I was 14. Even though I didn't have acne prone skin. I was a baby. I always had good skin, but I just loved that whole magic. So when I was about 16, that would be the time to enter beauty school in the country I was born. And my parents were obviously against it. Back in the day, that was a huge stigma against trades. And I had to abandon those ideas, and I went to law school, from which I didn't graduate. I went 3 years and then I just bailed, and I basically came here. I went to art school, and then I was like, okay, I see what my parents thought. It's a strange industry, right? So it's a
There's
good
a lot of ups and
hobby if
downs.
you're independently wealthy, or you have to sell. Basically, that's what it is. Then I had a slew of this interest in creating professions, and then when I was 35, the reality check came. And then I realized I'm at half of the human life expectancy about. And then, okay, it's time to do something purposeful, something that doesn't have a glass ceiling, something that there's no ageism, somewhere where you can be independent, and something that's fulfilling. And of course, that was the skincare. I went to interview for in the beauty school, and it was a funny school. It was called Miss Marty's Hair Academy and Beauty School,
Mm.
or Beauty School and Hair Academy, something like that. And the owner, Miss Marty, was long gone, but it was her niece Dottie who wore wigs during the day. Like, that was so strange. And her partner was a guy who looked like John Waters, had this little
Yeah.
mustache. And they were such a funny couple. And I was like, I already kind of like this. This is like a circus, but it's also there's an imagination and etc. So anyway, I finished school, but by the time I graduated, I already met all industry leaders. I went to beauty shows. You see, back in the day, there was internet, but it was not utilized as now, like as a supplement to life. So you had to go and meet people in person. So I went to lectures and to shows, and there's so many events, and they're very, very meaningful, right? So when I graduated, then realized I had one mentor. I mean, I had many mentors, but this in particular told me, so now that you graduated, now you have to think where you're going to be, because this is retention based business. And I was in San Francisco. And then also I know one thing coming from a different country, apprenticeship, which doesn't exist here as a concept. You have to apprentice. You cannot just get your diploma and go and open your shop, which lots of
You
people
have to work
do. It's
under someone,
crazy.
see all the hard and the good and the bad and the
Well, you
tough.
have to study. You have to do like your 10,000 hours, and you have to make those 10,000 mistakes and to learn about 10,000 types of skins. So I really realized, okay, I have to return to Los Angeles. And I lived here in the 90s, and then I returned to Los Angeles. And then the reason I returned to Los Angeles is because there's more work. In San Francisco, I think at a time there were maybe two spas. One was medical spa. There were some random estheticians, solo estheticians. So it was nothing good for a beginner. And then I came to LA, and then very soon I got the job at one of the most prominent spas at the time. It's closed now. It's called Kinara Spa. It was voted best in the nation, and it was really advanced at the time. And I was there for 7 years, and then I left. I left because it was mismanaged. It was just time to go. I outgrew the whole model, the whole collective. needed more flexibility, and then I opened my own business in 2011. And I was in this inconspicuous studio on the second floor in Beverly Hills on South Beverly Drive. So it's just so funny when people come and say, "How do you advertise?" And I said, "I just don't." My clients followed me, and then the journey started. So now I was fully free. I was doing my own treatments. I had my own equipment. I did my methods, right? And then that warranted product formulation because I wanted to optimize the outcome of my facial treatments. And then obviously the pride and joy, like you want to have your own product
Yeah.
to be taken seriously, right? And then what else? What else? So that's how I started. That's how the line
Well,
started.
let's talk for a minute too about opening your own business. I think that's taking a big risk too, and you're going through this resiliency moment of you've been working for other people, now you have your own business. So, like you said, you have your space that you have to rent or own. You have the equipment that you have to buy. You have to find your own clients, and yes, some are coming with you, but you need new clients. That's a lot right there to handle. So, how did you make that work from like a mindset, from a financial perspective, and then bringing in everything to offset these new costs? Like that, I think is the hardest part of being in entrepreneurship at the beginning is that mindset of I'm gonna have to take a risk before the reward's gonna start rolling in.
Yeah, well, my trajectory was very specific because I was squirreling equipment while I was still working elsewhere. So then I didn't have to start from zero, right? I already had equipment. So the equipment in my industry is a real issue because it can cost, like, I have a microcurrent machine that costs $25,000.
Yeah,
So,
expensive.
that's why I didn't buy a house, because I was buying equipment. My risk was emotional.
Mm,
I rented a small office, so financially it wasn't it was not dramatic, but emotionally it was really a test, right? It's like getting married or moving to another country or big decision that you just have to make that leap of faith and just
you do.
have a courage. So I did have a courage, but I had very little faith. Not
Mm.
little faith.
Oh,
I my faith was not solid, let's say.
and you
So
had to trust yourself and trust your vision and trust like you're going to be building as everything is coming together too. And you're going to have these shoots and
yeah.
ladders and twists and turns. And like,
You
how
have to
did you
kind of have
navigate
a
that
tunnel
process?
vision. You have to have a tunnel vision into, like, I'm doing it, right? And then so I remember I confided in a client of mine and I said, I'm just really scared that people will not follow me. And she says,
Mm,
"Why would people not follow you? I will follow you." I said, "Yeah, but you're like my client friend." And then lo and behold, I started with a full book. And then it just
yes.
grew to the kind of crazy. It grew to the crazy point where I had like a 50 people on a wait list. And,
Wow.
I got too busy.
And
And
that speaks for your services and your expertise. Like when there is demand, it's because you're bringing those efficacious results to your clients. And then they're going to refer you to their friends, and people are going to say, your skin looks different, or what have you been doing, or who have you been going to? So I think your work speaks for itself. Is that a big part of your marketing is through referrals, or how are you getting the word out to people? And like, how did that wait list get built? Was it through your client base
just the
mainly?
word of mouth. And
Which
then
is
early
wonderful.
on, like in 2012, 13, there was this InStyle magazine. This is before Instagram. There was InStyle magazine um, article, and magazines were everything then, like
Yes.
especially Style magazine and Vogue and all, Cosmopolitan. And I was seeing Emily Blunt then. She's now on the East Coast, so I hardly see her ever. But she was a like a regular customer, and then she says, "I gave you press. I talked about the skin." And then to this day, people save that clipping. Can you believe? To this
Wow.
day, somebody says, "I read that article in InStyle about you," and what.
Amazing.
So she says, Emily comes back and she said, "Did it work?" And I said, "Since I met you, I don't have life anymore."
Oh my gosh. Well, you're like, she's a walking billboard. She has beautiful skin, and thanks to you.
Right.
And so that's so incredible. It's like your work speaks for itself.
Right. So that helped. I have to say, having celebrity clientele really helps because it solidifies your reputation. But also on the other hand, on the serious part, all of that would not matter if you didn't deliver results, right? And if you didn't treat the clients right. I just recently had a young client. She's 17 and got acne from comedogenic product that she was using. It's a product for all the skin. It was all full of like oils and problematic products for acne prone skin. Then the esthetician that she was going to did not catch that, gave her an exfoliant, acid exfoliant. She's 17 to use every day. To use every
Mhm.
day. And
Such
then
a skin barrier.
the young client is not wearing sunscreen.
Yeah.
And I
Oh,
said, "Did I talk to you about sunscreen?" They said, "No." I said, "You must use sunscreen if you're using, first of all, you should be using sunscreen anyway.
every day. Yes.
Acids in California, and with our UV index, it's crazy, right?"
Even just driving somewhere, you're getting sun exposure. Airplanes, anywhere, sitting in your house, there's sun exposure.
Yes. And I said, "What are you exfoliating? You're a baby. And, just stop using this. Will clear up the skin and then you go your happy way. Don't don't use comedogenic products." But you see, people just don't know. So that set me apart because to this day I attend seminars, I read. I'm going this weekend is a big convention in Las Vegas. I will sit in some classes and see, at my age, and not actually age, physical age, biological age, but I'm an industry veteran. It's much harder to get new information because I already know a lot.
Mhm.
So then I have to sit sometimes through a lecture that's 2 hours just to get a spark, like one idea. But then
Yeah.
it's worth it because you have a new insight. Oh,
Or I think with your experience too, what sets you apart too is you've seen so many different clients over these years, and so you've
yeah.
seen a variety of skin concerns. So I think that's like a big topic today is a lot of people are like rinsing and repeating. So 20 years ago, everyone probably just followed what their parents were doing for their skincare routine. We learned that's not right. Even if you're using what your siblings are using, that's not right. Everyone's skin is so individual. So how do you educate your customers and then say, like, this is good and this isn't? Yes, you said over years you're looking at different skin, you're going to these conferences, you're continuously learning. But something that sets you apart is your holistic skincare. So
Mhm.
let's talk about that for a minute. And we can even weave in this world of we live in a lot of false information right now. And whether people are purposely giving it to be false or they don't even know their information is false, just like you said with your example. So, how do you educate your clients so that they can trust you? Maybe they're a first time client, they haven't seen results yet. Maybe they're really nervous about their sensitive skin.
It's a great question. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of energy. When a new client comes in, we talk a lot and we have to establish that rapport. Hopefully they tell me the truth, about what are they taking or not taking. I said no judgment. I don't care what you're using. You don't have to use my product. You don't have to like you don't have to do anything. Just tell me you're here. You're here because you need help. Let's see if I can help you, right? So what are you doing? What are you using? What are you eating? Are you on a birth control for women? Most of my clients are women anyway. And then you go to more sensitive topics. What are you eating? Are you over consuming sugars and carbs? Are you staying up at night? Are there any recreational drugs? Need to know that because that all will rev up the hormones. And
Yeah.
not that I can treat hormones, but at least we know it's of a hormonal origin. Have a stir of people to refer, and refer a lot of people to a therapist, to the nutritionist, to all kinds of professionals, the dentists, like
It's like you're the connector, you're bringing everything together. But it's all, like you said, it's all connected too. It's like what
yeah,
they're eating, how much they're sleeping, other
yeah,
lifestyle choices. It all like feeds
yeah.
into how your skin is
Yes, yes. And then
behaving.
we come to the very sensitive topic, which is aging. You know, acne is acne. So I was able to resolve a lot of clients' issues and sometimes not, but I would say I'm very, very a high percentile efficient. And it also depends on the client's compliancy, what they're doing and what they're not doing. And that intuition, I keep getting acne, it's because I did this. I ate this. I was there. I used if somebody has to help me, help them. When it comes to aging, like there's a genetic component, and then also obviously aging like clients come in their 50s and deal is done already. So it's the genetics, it's the lifestyle, it's the sun exposure. Usually, people who had no problems with their skin, who had beautiful skin, they suffer the most because then they neglected the skin because the skin
Good
was good.
point. Mhm.
They come with wrinkles and sagginess and sometimes pigmentation, and they want it resolved by me, which is not possible. We can rehydrate the skin layers and revive the skin, but sagginess and wrinkles is not something that esthetician handles. So I always say to my clients, the skin protection is in your hands. That's not my job. My job is to do my service, right? And to give you advice, but you're the one who's going to protect your skin. I
And is
can't
that mainly, like,
like
hydrating your
chocolate peppers
skin?
or salmon sperm on your skin, and all of a sudden you're gonna be 20 years old. No, that doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. So, I would, I wish I had a larger platform, but unfortunately, I'm a solo esthetician. I wish I had a larger platform and kind of talk about this to millennials. If the boomers didn't do enough, these are doing too much.
Mhm.
So kind of back off.
How do you work with your clients when they come to you and maybe they're, like, in their mid-30s and they're saying, "I'm afraid of aging," and yes, it's a sensitive topic. What advice would you give to someone in their 30s who's saying, "I want to age gracefully, I wanna look like myself, but I also wanna preserve my skin." How do you guide them through that
Well,
process?
it's like planning. It's like a planning. You do financial planning and your life planning. You do your age planning. What are you going to face eventually? If you buy a house every 10 years, you have to check gutters. You will have to inspect the plumbing. The same with skin in your 30s. Like you can start using your retinols, have your regular skin treatments, and skin treatments are very important because of the circulation that will preserve elasticity and hydration. So that's the purpose of the treatment. And then you're going to use your sunscreen, and then you are going to start implementing lifestyle changes. So no more partying, probably start thinking about cutting alcohol. But I think in 40s, everybody's raging on alcohol, and then in the 50s that like really shows, right? So the nutrients, the protein, like there's a trifecta of nutrients, right? There's protein, there's water, and there's fiber, and then you have amino acids and what have you, vitamins. But in order not to age, we need to eat protein. So lots of people like not to eat meat, or they have heavy carb diet, or only green leaves, or like things that are not protein rich. That's something kind of to think. And then sleep, like people don't
Yeah,
sleep enough.
yeah.
So you need to disconnect, and you really need to take care of your mental health. You need to go to sleep at a certain time and have your at least 7 hours uninterrupted sleep. So that sleep hygiene and the sleep apnea is terrible also for aging.
Point though, it's like you're looking at it saying, "I can do this for your skin. You need to prepare similar to how you would prepare for retirement or prepare to buy a house and save up." And
Yes.
it's what you're putting in your body, what you're putting on your skin, and it's also your entire lifestyle. And I think so much of the millennial and Gen Z outlook is this instant gratification where we think we can reverse something in like a snap of a finger, whether it's through a facial or through injectables, uh, a surgery, or even an AR filter on TikTok to Instagram to Snapchat. But there is so much we need to reverse our thinking and saying if we do small things leading up to this, it's going to
Hmm.
be a much better outcome. That's really
Yes.
what you're educating your customers on.
And then when the time comes, I'm not advocating that everybody should do it or like we need to do it. But if the surgery is necessary, then just kind of think about mid-century remodel. So if you need to lift your eyes or your neck or whatever the issue is, only if you're disturbed by your appearance, right? If you look tired and you don't like if it's affecting your level of happiness, why not? Yes, today's youth is exposed, and not youth, everybody is exposed to tremendous amount of like theorists who have never worked on skin and have no business giving recommendations. Just today, I was just listening to one influencer. She's talking about oil cleansers, and she says they need only work if you use them on a dry skin. And I said they don't work. They're not cleansers. It's oil that smudges things. So why are
Yeah.
you talking about it? Go and do something else. Like
Into this so much because really struggle with my skin. I always joke, like, whether I'm going to a facialist or a dermatologist or you have this, and overall, I'm a very healthy person, I think from a lifestyle perspective, as well as to nutrition, as well as to my skincare regimen, but I still struggle, and I know there's a lot of other people that are doing other things and their skin is perfect, and that can be frustrating. But with that information, like you just shared, a lot of times you'll have people, whether it's coming through social media or sitting at brunch, and someone will say, well, I'm doing this, so this should work for you, or you need to go to my person. Or, I mean, my favorite line ever is, do you drink water? I'm like, of course, there's so much water I consume every day. But how do you help? How, like, or what is, do you have a plan to help people navigate that false information or like on like a major scale? Or is it really through your client?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
must like frustrate you from this like world of things like when you are talking about oil cleansers and saying, "No, that's not working," and oil probably could be so bad, especially for, like, an acne-prone skin, so how do you navigate?
I opened the lines of communication. I said, "Do you have any questions for me? Email me and I'll respond." Can't get into somebody's mind and know what looks appealing to them. Does beef tallow looks appealing to them? Does like some scrubbing with had some bizarre stuff happening. That one person scrub her face with magic eraser, you know.
That you would normally use on your white sneakers or white walls to get rid of marks? Wow.
Yep. Yep. So, so she's like, "What do I do?" And she sent me a picture. I said, "You go to ER right now. You're going to get a staph infection." Like she scrubbed like entire face, like she was like bloody.
Wow. And it's
So,
because she learned this online to
yeah,
scrub her face
yeah,
with a magic
yeah.
cube.
Yeah, that's a secret, like, that's like a Paris Hilton secret is that she's actually using magic eraser or she's using the dish scrubbers, and so people will try, you don't know. Friday night, you're bored, you're at home, you're alone, people do that. People really truly do that, and it's incredible. Clorox, excuse me, I mean,
Oh gosh, yes. I mean, but we all grew up. The other day I was just thinking I was picking up toothpaste and I said, remember when people growing up would say, put toothpaste on a zit and it will go away. And I thought, like, why are we getting, and that was even before social media. That was maybe in either through friends or through magazines. So there's so much false information. Fast forward, you have your own skincare line, which is
Mhm.
incredible. What is your idea beyond I want to take control over my own products or help my clients? How did you bring it to market and say, this is not just going to be used during an appointment, but I'm going to start selling this to a broader consumer market?
The logic of product application is that you're going to be cleansing your skin. So I have like several. I had more cleansers, but then I had to cut down the number of SKUs because I had too many products. So you will be cleansing skin. So there's a cleanser for all scenarios of to normal to dry to oily to non-rinse, which is the micellar water. Then you will be using your toner, and then you will be using your serum, and those are the corrective products. And then you'll be using a moisturizer, and then there's a sunscreen, which I don't have. That's another story. I don't even want it to bother with this because our UV filters are like tragic, tragic. After 17 years, next year, I think FDA is to approve the UV filter for the first time.
Wow.
And while in Asia and EU, we have all these filters, they're effective, more effective than what do we have here. So, I
Why do you think that? I mean, without going down that, if you want to talk about it or not, but why is the FDA not approving as strong of filters as Asia and as Europe?
well, they're overwhelmed, they're understaffed, and it's a systemic problem that we're like seeing now. Like the system is broken everywhere. From the city to the FDA. We had the MOCRA, right? This new rule last year. It was July 1st last year when we had to report our products. And then the first date was January 1st. And then the website wasn't ready. The website wasn't ready. How can federal website not be ready?
And, like, how I always think of, like, how are some products getting passed through approvals and other products aren't? It go back to food, right? Beginning of time when we look at food and, like, what is good for us versus not, and there's so much mismanagement there, so, like, there's even more within beauty, personal care,
Yeah,
skincare.
there's a lot of oversight.
And this is like a moment of entrepreneurship where a lot of people think it's like glamorous and fun. And they're like, oh, you're always probably meeting with your celebrity clients and you're having so much fun. And no, there's paperwork, there's administrative work to do. Then you're selling yourself, you're marketing yourself, you're looking at the cash flow of the business and when you can invest here versus there. There's so much more to behind the scenes of starting,
Yes. Oh
building,
my
scaling
God,
your
it's
business.
a lot, and the celebrity clients, like it's wonderful when you get press and you see them. It's an honor, when somebody walks into your office. I can't believe it. So, I saw Kylie Minogue a couple like a month ago when she was in LA, and I was like, I can't believe it. This is such an honor. This is
Yeah,
so
that's amazing.
amazing. And she's beautiful, and she's extraordinary, right? So lots of people are just extraordinary. And I always say this about celebrities. They have ability to lift your vibrational energy.
Mm,
They were
yeah.
able to lift it up, energy in the entire stadium. Wherever they go, like they lift. So they're really extraordinary. With that comes a responsibility. So imagine now my risk doing like massaging somebody's skin, doing any treatment on somebody and potentially harming the skin or ruining something or not meeting the deadline and
Nerve-wracking.
healing and they're going somewhere and you know what I mean? You just really have to know, you just really have to know your
You were saying earlier through that, like, apprenticeship time and crafting your art and your ability and really understanding different skin and textures and tones and ages and needs, whether it's acne or aging, that's where you're able to really differentiate yourself, and I know holistic skincare is a big focus for you. You have your own product line, and you've carved out, I don't wanna say a niche, but you've proven your expertise. Like, I always think of your serum, and there was a huge moment on YouTube where so many big millennial celebrities were talking about your serum, and that's amazing. A marketer's dream to have that, and it
it
happened to
started
begin.
the whole peptide serum craze. My lip treatment with peptides, my cream barrier is the first in its category. That was a total unintentional white space discovered.
Wow.
And then everybody has a barrier cream. And it's a name, but we always had a skin barrier. It was always there. You just didn't know. So you just didn't know the terms because you're a marketer. You know, people come from finance background and they open skincare line and they're like, oh, okay, let's say this, let's say this. This sounds like, you know, it's
And it's
just
yeah, they're like, they're pulling up these buzzwords and, like, little do people know there's so much more beyond that buzzword. It's really important, or maybe it's a need for this type of skin and not for that type of skin. You're doing is powerful by stepping back and saying, "Everyone is so different. Everyone is so individual." So instead of giving blanket advice for everyone, instead of what we call, like, algorithm chasers of virality and the magic eraser on your face, no, what actually works, what's efficacious, and what works for you.
yeah, and then, you know, my job is a little easier nowadays because I can really say, okay, you can come and have microcurrent. Microcurrent and galvanic machines used to be our anti-aging tools. It's a healthy treatment. So what can I say? But I never lied to clients, and they said, "How long is it going to last?" And I said, 3 to 5 days. That's all it is. How long does your massage last? People have started to develop this really crazy idea that a facial will skincare will do something. The moment you stop using your retinol, skin will revert to its original condition. So the good thing is now I can refer people who are facing advanced aging to a medical professional. And they can do medical procedures and then come to me for skin health because I'm a skin therapist. Like I can't affect muscles. I can release the fascia, I can do microcurrent, but that's to a point.
Well, what I love is your approach is holistic. So, yes, you might not just be able to like pop a spironolactone and and your acne will go away, but that's not a healthy route for you and for
No.
most people. So, it might be a longer route, but if the more that we can get everyone away from this instant gratification, we're going to solve your problems with one appointment or one medicine. However, that's actually not good for you.
Yeah.
Like, let's take this better approach that's holistic and from the inside out and the outside in, and that's gonna be a longer term success for you.
It would be not only success for skin, but for your entire body because your entire being, because like
Your
you're just,
mind, your yeah, like, your physical sense, like, your skin not only is your largest organ, but it also it's like, yeah, it's controlling other organs, like you were mentioning kidneys, or it's, like, controlling your heart, or it's controlling your mind, and even your thyroid comes into play and, like,
oh,
hormone
the thyroid and then for women, bone density.
Mhm.
Nowadays, you can go to DEXA scan pretty easily. It's $50, and you can just get your body mass index. You can get your lean mass index. That's when you decide how much protein you need, so you don't undertake, overtake, and then you can see some. I don't know if it's used. Okay, they give you bone density ratio, like a number. I don't know if that's as good as MRI or CT scan or whatever they use in DEXA scan. That's
It gets
medical.
you on the track.
But I think in 40 somebody has to like mammogram. A woman should have DEXA scan because not only that you can start lifting weights and wearing like I just bought a weighted vest.
Nice. It's
And
good. I mean, weightlifting is amazing, especially for overall health and, like, not only just toning, but longevity as well.
yes, and then it's mammogram, it's bone density scan. You just have to take care of your health because it's not just skin at 50. Oh, what do I do? I look like that. But let's see what's going on in your body. That's more important than your face,
Mhm,
if you will. And
mhm.
then the face comes as a trophy, if you say, if you will. And then if you're, trying to be 70 and looking amazing, great, great, but be healthy.
I like
Live
look on the inside too.
live until you're 70. Live
Mhm,
until you're 80 and 90 and
mhm. Have the inside just as good as the outside, yes.
yes,
Well,
yeah.
taking a step back, there's 2 major questions I'd love to ask you is one is focused on advice. How do we seek advice? How do we share advice? How do we know which advice is for us? So, like, what advice, Biba, have you ever received, or is advice that you share with friends and family that you would want everyone else to hear, and why? Like, what is gravitating you towards this advice?
That's a loaded question. That's a really loaded question. I would say, your question. You know your questions. Am I like my peers or I'm behind my peers? How do I look? I often had clients walking in and they ask me, how old do you think I am? And I said, I'm not gonna play this game. I'm not gonna answer.
That's a tough one. That is such a tough question.
Yeah, like it's actually very rude to ask them. So how old do you think I am? So they basically want to validate their opinion, their question. They want answer to their own question. How do I look? Right. And so I would say your question can be answered in many ways, but you need to look at it from many, many different ways. Like, so you have to start listening to people. First, eliminate people who cannot help you. And that's somebody who's 20 years old and talking about aging. They're not aging. So
Exactly.
for them that's obstruction. It's an obstruction that happens to other people. Young people are ageist. Like even 13-year-old is an ageist. I experienced that in my family with my nieces and nephews. They become ageist. Like, you're old and you don't know anything. I know everything. So until they start aging and they're like, oh, okay. And then that's a human fault, right? It's a human trait. So then you will have to, like, looking into articles, YouTube, like, I don't know, the editors, podcast is a really good source, because podcasts are more honest than magazines, because editors, again, you know they're hired guns, oftentimes.
It's like through the advertising. It's like I think with magazines too, it's like a lot of placements are based on who's getting the first couple spreads in that magazine. And then I look at social media and
Yeah.
clips, and a lot of things are based on algorithms, and podcasts are people talking more off the cuff and more
I would
niche.
Google, I would look in the studies, I would look in the podcast, I would look on YouTube. Listen, listen, listen before you make a decision. It's just like taking a medication. A doctor tells you, like, you have to take a medication for osteoporosis. You're not going to say, okay, I'll take it. No, you're going to take the medication and you're going to enter it into Google. You're going to see side effects. Then you're going to see the studies. Then you're going to talk to people. Then you're going to wait. You're not going to do it right now. Right. And that right now, that urgency to do something is preventable by doing things timely.
Mm,
So you're prepared, right? So you're offset things. You need to answer your own questions.
you do. And you need to look there and say, what are your questions? Answer your own questions. Where do you get that? I want to say, where do you get the information to solidify your final choice, or like the steps to get to that final choice? I like
Yeah,
that.
because it sounds logical to you. I'll drink more water and my skin will be better to an extent, but like that's not a nation.
And you're also leaning into other people and asking for their advice, whether it is like a Google or a friend who might have also been maybe on that medicine, but at the same time, it really comes from you saying, I am in control in my life. I'm going to make the decision because of XYZ information I've gathered.
You have to make a plan, and then, like, how long are you going to take that medication for?
Hmm.
Is it a lifelong, or is it going to short term?
Those
What are the
follow-up
markers?
questions.
What are you looking for? Like, what bond density, like, can bond density be improved? So people say over and over, yes, with weightlifting and mineral supplementation. And they said often magnesium, like a lack of magnesium is like the culprit.
Yeah.
Then you kind of have to force your mom to go to the extra skin. So
And it's like
What did
always like, but what you also what's interesting, what you said, it's not just ask the right question, it's ask the question. So there's always it's dynamic. It's not a static situation. It's a follow-up.
learn how to ask questions
I like that.
yourself, others, like there's Google, there's Chat GPT now. So you can gain insights, right? And more insights on what's happening because Instagram and TikTok especially are really kind of obscuring the fact that, our life is passing,
Yeah.
you know, nothing is set in stone. Are you going to sacrifice your life's happiness, putting your lashes and wigs and wearing high heels and dieting and like live your life,
Yeah, live your
live
life
your best
and
life?
live your life for yourself, and I think that's what I love about your advice is ask the questions too of, like, what do you want? Not just what does everyone else
Exactly.
want for you, and that's kinda gets back to owning your own path and owning your vision, so I think that's really, really powerful advice across personal and professional. I have one final question, and it comes from a Mel Robbins podcast, and it says, "Where do you sit in the stands in your life?" And what that means is imagine you're at a sports arena and you're yelling at the football player, the basketball player saying like, "Why'd you throw the ball to him? Why did she run down the sidelines?" Or maybe you're at the theater and you're saying, "Why did she deliver her monologue that way?" And so many times we're sitting in the stands in our life and we're almost saying we're going to start doing something, we're going to stop doing something. And maybe we're not yelling at ourselves the same way we're yelling at the player in the arena, but it could be that post it note on the bathroom mirror. It could be the notes in our iPhone that have been sitting there for about 3 years now. So, Biba, where do you sit in the stands in your life? And many people take this as a time to say they're looking forward to something or reflective on something that happened or is about to come up, but we've never had the same answer. So, where do you sit in the stands in your life?
Getting help
Hmm,
with whatever I'm doing. I like to do things myself, and that becomes a hindrance in the end. So right now I'm looking to partner with somebody who can actually help me run the business so that I can do the
amazing.
innovation and education because it's just impossible. My day is so busy. Like we
Mhm.
started with how is your day? It's already busy. It's from six
Yeah.
to 9, busy.
And that really gets into scaling the business too. And I think as an entrepreneur, it's like you are the brains behind it, the vision, the power, the innovation. And then you realize there's everything from like operations and cash flow and marketing and product development and customer service and so much more. And it's really hard for one person to do everything. But what's the
Social
difference
media and social.
between like a entrepreneur and a small business owner is the entrepreneur looks at it and says, I can scale this, I can grow this to something bigger and I can keep my vision. And then I can also delegate.
I read this book years ago, and I forgot what is it called, but it was something about small business, and they said when goings get tough, like business starts to grow, the first thing the entrepreneur knows how to do is to go back small.
Mhm.
That's the first, like go back small, which is obviously not good. So just not getting help, but sooner, and that's like a couple of years behind, a couple of years.
No, no, I feel like you're ahead of your time. There's so
Yeah,
much
well, no, no, no. I mean, in terms of procuring help, right? Like engaging somebody in my business because that's another can of worms, that's a partnership. It's like a
it is.
marriage, it's
It is.
50/50. So, you know,
Well, Biba, where can everyone find you, get in touch with you about your services as well as Biba de Sousa skincare line?
it's my website, bibalosangeles.com. And I have Instagram accounts. So I guess there we do have TikTok, but nobody really attends that account.
Go to your website and Instagram. Well, Biba, thank you so much for coming on to
Yeah.
share your story in skincare, growing a business, and we're so excited to see what's next. And thank you so much for all of your advice. And we will be sure to ask the right questions moving forward, thanks to your insights.
Thank you, Anne. It's a pleasure talking to you. Thank you for all these insightful questions. And I hope we were able to educationally entertain clients, your clients, your readers, and spark them to think for themselves. I think that's advice not only in the beauty, but just in general. Just kind
Yeah.
of think for yourself
Yeah, there's
before you.
a lot to learn to take from what you're saying too, not just about skincare, but about what do you
Mhm.
want for your life and what's next. And like you said, ask the questions, see what's right for you, not just for the mass market, but what works for you.
And then keeping in mind that like there's no ultimate truth when it comes to our health and skin and aging,
Mhm.
because we are constantly evolving. We live longer, we're healthier, but like our environment is changing. So
Mhm.
all of that has to be followed. So instead of following people on TikTok, follow scientists now on PubMed and NIH, and read the studies. And it's boring, but you will know what's
It's the
going on.
education that we need over the entertainment.
Yes, obsession with entertainment will come with a price, and that's beautifying and numbing.
Well, thank you, Biba. Thank you so much for your time and sharing your story and amazing advice. We look
Thank you.
forward to
Bye.
seeing what's more to come.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you.
you.
Bye.